In this video, I'm going to share with you things that I've seen has killed B2B companies over the last 20 years as I've helped different B2B companies to scale. Now, there's only so many times you can tell somebody something. If they want to take the advice, they do. Luckily, most people that we try to help at least, they do take this advice on board and they do fix things. There is the odd people who unfortunately don't take the advice. They're very locked in the way that they think. They've got kind of a tunnel vision on because of a lot of conditioning that they've had. And look, that's fair enough. That's just how psychology works with humans. But what I'm going to ask you to do as you go through this video is just be open to what I'm about to say to you. And trust me, it will help you. Anyone that we've told this sort of stuff to in the past who's actually implemented this and even taken a second or two to think about it and just be open to it, it has absolutely changed the way that they do business. And as I said, unfortunately for the people who don't take this advice and again, they're very tunnel vision, they're very locked in the way that they think. I've unfortunately seen some of those businesses die because they haven't made these changes. So look, we'll start with the very first one, and that is when you're saying things such as, but we've always done things that way. I have seen this quite a lot, to be honest, in different businesses that I've helped over the last 20 years. And as I said, unfortunately, I've seen some of them die because, especially with the age that we're now, technology is moving very, very fast. A lot of us can't even keep up with it. I understand it's very hard for business to keep up with as well, especially now we have AI as well. But when you're stuck in the mindset, especially in a business scenario where you're saying to yourself, but this is how we've always done things and it's always been fine, you have to understand that the market changes, technology changes, your consumers change how they perceive different things. The everything is changing completely. So if you're going to be stuck in a situation where you're saying, but we've always done things that way, trust me, at some point in time, it will fail for you. So as I said, I'm just going to ask you to be open to thinking about, well, what if we didn't do it this way? What if we did it a different way? Now, again, most people never come across that thought in their head because it's not normal for humans to kind of go off the beaten path to do something a different way, especially when you're already comfortable and you have the knowledge of doing something that you already know that you do. Now, for a lot of you that are watching this, I'm sure if you actually stood back and just took a little kind of a checklist of everything that you do throughout the day and how you do it, you might go, actually, why am I doing it that way? That's very outdated. That doesn't make a lot of sense at all. So just take a moment or two to just kind of write down what you do throughout the day and how you do it. And if you're aware of a better way that there is, you probably are, knowing that some sort of technology exists out there that could help you automate this to free your time, whatever it may be. Or if there's just some sort of even different route that you could go down where it would just save you time. There's so many different scenarios here that I could jump into, so many different examples, but they're going to be different for everybody that's watching this video because every single company does things differently. Even if you sell the exact same thing as the competitor next door to you, the internal workings of the company are going to be completely different. And I've never ever worked with a company or seen a company where they do something the exact same way as another company. Every company always has their own ways of doing things. And again, a lot of the people who are in that situation in that company, they're so, as I said, they've got tunnel vision and they're so locked into a particular mindset of, but this is how we've always done things. Trust me, just take a moment or two when you're doing things again to just think to yourself, is this the best way to be doing this? Could there be a better way of doing this? Could there be a more efficient way of doing this? Could this be even automated? There's so many different routes that you can go down for that. So again, try and get out of the, but we've always done things this way kind of thinking, and just be open to thinking about, well, could there be a better way of doing this? So I'll move on to the next one then. Take away just a little sticky note, and that is, can this be faster or easier or better? As I kind of jumped on in there, and that was kind of a nice transition into this, that is what you need to really be thinking here as well. Is there a better way of doing this? As in, could it be faster? Could it be automated? Even if not automated, could it be semi-automated where it's going to save you half the time that you're spending on it? Is there an easier way of doing it? Because again, that we've seen so many situations where if we're asking a company to show us how they would do something typically, and they would run through, and to us as an outsider, it just seems so silly to do things that way. But again, they're so, like I said, locked into the tunnel vision side of things where, but this is how we've always done things. So again, this kind of falls into what I've said in the first part there as well. But again, instead of just constantly doing the same thing again and again and again, look, if it works, that's one thing, fair enough, but it can work and more than likely be better as well. It's highly, highly unlikely that every single person watching this video, they have a fully 100% optimized, automated, uh, absolutely perfect system and flow for everything that they do. There's always going to be better ways to do things, but you just have to ask yourself, take a moment and ask yourself, Is there a better way of doing this? Can it be better? Can it be faster? Can it be easier? In fact, could it even be cheaper? And could it save on costs? There's a lot of different scenarios that you can run through here with this as well. Again, but it's as I said, it's so off the beaten track for most humans to think those kind of things because we like our routines. That's kind of just how we're built psychologically. We like doing things that we know that we can do again, so we feel smart about things and we know how to do things and we can get things done. And that's fair enough as well. And by the way, when I say like could this be better, faster, automated, all that sort of stuff, you shouldn't be worried about, well, will this take my job? Because again, there's always going to be that human element there, even with the likes of AI. I kind of on a bit of a tangent here, but I know there's a lot of worry about, well, will AI take my job? In my opinion, no. AI is just a tool, and the people who are going to use it effectively will be able to use it in a smarter way where they're actually more efficient and more, what's the word I want to use here? They are more not suited, but they're more, essentially they're doing a better job for the company essentially. Now, whether that's you as either a CEO, founder, you're in marketing, you're the marketing director, or whatever it is, whatever your position is, trust me, there is a better, faster, easier, potentially even automated, semi-automated way of doing things as well here. Okay, so let's move on to the next one then, and that is outdated systems and duplicate work. And the reason I put this one in here is because I have seen this one quite a lot. So, as an example, in the likes of, let's say, a finance department where people have multiple different systems that they're running. They want to keep all their information on their own internal spreadsheets, but they also want to keep the information on whatever accounting software they're using, whether it be Xero, QuickBooks, whatever it may be. But they don't talk to each other. Now, that's just one particular example. There's loads of examples out there where, again, even if you're in the likes of marketing, where you generate a lead on this particular platform, but your internal CRM doesn't understand that. So it's doing other things with that particular lead or still trying to get that person as a lead or whatever it might be. There's so many different things that can pop up here, okay? Whether you want to trigger something to happen or whether you want to trigger something to stop happening once something else has happened, if that makes any sense. So again, we want to remove any time that we have systems that are not talking to each other. Again, we are now in a world where systems can talk to each other. So we've got so many different APIs for the vast majority of different softwares and tools to connect to each other. If they don't have their own kind of API, their own kind of zaps on the likes of Zapier, again, you can create webhooks as well. Now, again, a lot of you may then immediately go, but I don't know how to make a webhook. I don't know how to do coding. I don't know how to do any of that, okay? Again, for what it would take you to learn how to create the webhook, it would be much faster for you in the future. So what you're essentially doing is, if you want to take, let's say, a day to figure out how do I create this webhook, it's going to be very simple. You just look it up on YouTube or Google or whatever particular platform you want to have a look at it, whether it's on ChatGPT, whatever it might be. Okay, you might even want to use the likes of AI to help you put together this particular webhook as well. Okay. Trust me, I have never done any piece of coding in my life, but AI has helped us to essentially automate a lot of things with coding that we've built through AI, okay? It's really not that scary. It's not that difficult. You just have to, like you're talking to a human, just go back and forth and say, this is what I'm looking for. And then they'll give you something back and you say, yeah, but that's great, but I want this in it as well. Or we don't want that. Or how do we do this? Or trust me, it's very, very simple to do that, especially in this day and age as well, okay? So whether you're trying to create something that connects through Zapier, so you're trying to create a webhook in there because there's nothing official from the tools that you use, look, that's fair enough. But you have to get out of this particular, again, this way of thinking of, but this is how we've always done things. We have to put it onto this platform and then we have to copy and paste it onto this platform. We live in a day and age where it can instantly be brought over from one platform to another, where these systems can talk to each other, okay? The vast majority of systems that are out there, they are going to be able to talk to each other, okay? Now, if you're in a scenario where you're on a system where it doesn't have the capability to either connect to the internet or to connect with other tools or whatever it may be, my advice in that scenario would be upgrade to something new, okay? Because that would just tell me that you are on a particular tool or software. Again, whether this is your CRM, whether it is whatever you're using, okay? Where it's just absolutely, in this case, about 2 decades old. And I'm saying this because I know there's companies that still use these sort of systems where, again, the UI, the UX, the user interface, all that sort of stuff, it's really, really old and outdated and it's slow. And that adds even more time to what you're doing, okay? So again, so many people are locked into this mindset of, but this is how we've always done things. And yeah, it's just slow and the computer takes a while to turn on and the system takes a while to boot up. And that's just how it is. And we understand that and we get on with it. There is a better way of doing this, okay? Especially in this day and age. So if you're on one of those old, outdated systems where you know, when you just think about it for a moment, that it could be a lot better and you could save yourself a lot of time if that particular internal system you use spoke to other systems, or it automatically does calculations or automations for you, whatever it may be, whatever particular system you're using. You know that it would be well worth your time to figure out, well, how do we actually make this better so that you can save yourself all that time in the future? Because by not doing this now, all you're doing is just I suppose I could use the term wasting your time even further in the future by doing things that can be automated or can be at least sped up a little bit. Okay, so there's no reason that you should be using outdated systems in this day and age. Again, there's a lot of companies out there who they kind of jumped on the software bandwagon, the software train really early on, as companies started to use computers essentially. Now I'm talking like 2 decades plus ago, all that sort of stuff, and they've just had those customers forever because again, the software becomes sticky, meaning essentially that, oh, but it would be too difficult for us to learn a new system. No, it would take you like literally a couple of days, maybe a week, and you would get used to it. It's the same when you go to anything. Like you drive a car at the moment, or even if you don't drive a car, if you want to learn how to drive a car, yes, it might take you a while to get used to it, but you get used to it. And then when you do have a car, if you go from that car to another car, well, things are a little bit different. Yes, there's a steering wheel and there's pedals, but if you want to change the aircon, the button isn't quite where it was in the last car, or if you want to turn on the lights, it's not exactly where it was in the last car. But you learn, you figure this out very, very quickly. And it's the exact same thing with these outdated systems as well. Okay, there's a lot of fear in the marketplace of, oh, but it would take us forever to move to a new system, and oh, what if something goes wrong in the first couple of days that we have it, and because of that we lose clients, stuff like that. That just doesn't happen. Okay, that's just not how this works. Again, if you're going to go to a new system, literally just set yourself aside a day or whatever it may be, or however much time that you have. I understand everybody has a lot on their plates these days. I get that, okay? But again, taking the punishment to move to a new system that's going to allow you to be more free in the future, that makes a lot more sense. And again, if you take a moment to stop and just think about it instead of, like we said at the start, but we've always done it this way. This is a system we've used for the last 20 years. It hasn't failed us. Why would we move from it? Well, I understand that argument, but the reason for moving would be because it's outdated. It's going to move. It's going to save your time. It's going to automate some things, going to a new system. Look, I'm not trying to pitch any particular system here either. We don't offer a system like this. I'm just saying in general. So there's nothing for me to pitch by saying any of this sort of stuff here. This is just stuff that I've seen for over the last 20 years working with different businesses. And as I said, unfortunately, the people who haven't done these kind of things have not made it through to the other side, let's say. So again, if you're on an outdated system, you have to duplicate your work through different systems so that because they don't talk to each other, but so that different people can see different things within the organization. That just doesn't make any sense, okay? It really doesn't make any sense when you actually take a moment, step back, and think logically about this and go, why are we doing it that way? Again, so many people don't do it. There's the tunnel vision, but just take a moment to step back and just think about it. And by the way, you'll kind of start, the cogs will start to turn in your head once you start to go through this sort of stuff. But this is really for everything that you do, okay? There's always going to be a better, easier, faster, automated, even semi-automated way that you can do something that's going to free up your time so that you can focus on something that does actually require human input, okay? So let's move on to the next one then. And that is no logical flow for progress. This, again, these all interlock with each other. These are all overlapping in some way. But if you're not doing these sort of things where you have a step-by-step process that helps you to actually progress, it doesn't make sense, okay? So what I mean by that is if we look at the scenario that I gave a moment ago where you have multiple different systems where you need to kind of copy paste on these so different departments can see it, whatever it may be, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, okay? And this could even be something as simple as you keep a spreadsheet. Now I'm talking about Excel spreadsheets, not Google Sheets here for this particular example. You keep an Excel spreadsheet of things, but one goes to finance, one goes to sales, one goes to marketing, one goes to whatever it may be, okay? And they all need to be updated separately, okay? Again, something very simple is you could just have multiple sheets on that one particular sheet, but maybe those particular people don't want to see each other's figures, or maybe they're not allowed to see each other's figures based on what the C-suite have said, okay? There's all these different scenarios that can go on within organizations, okay? So they need to be updated manually, whereas you could just either hook them up through a something like what Microsoft's online system is essentially, so that you can update it online, or it can speak to a system where it's updated online, or you can just switch over to the likes of Google Sheets, which has a lot of automation that can be built into it as well. And again, there's that mindset of, oh, but we know how to use Excel, we don't know how to use Google Sheets, it's going to take us forever to learn that. That's not true whatsoever, okay? Now again, that's just one particular example of kind of logical flow of how you would kind of do things as well, okay? But having a lack of logical flow, that actually prevents progress, okay? Because again, think about it this way, you're spending that amount of time each week, month, whatever it may be, okay? Whereas if that time was freed up where you could go do something else that would help to progress and to scale the company, that makes a lot more sense. Because again, the thing that you're essentially giving up here, or at least semi-automating, trust me, there is a way that it can be done in this day and age, okay? I would be absolutely baffled if somebody left something in the comments below that said, but we have this particular thing and that can't be automated. I genuinely cannot think of one thing where in this day and age it could not be automated, or a tool or piece of software couldn't be built very easily, even by the likes of AI, to help you automate that, okay? Just to me, it just does not make sense, especially in this day and age as well, okay? Now, maybe again, 20 years ago, this would have made sense because we didn't have this technology at our disposal, but now we do, okay? So if you're not doing something that actually is logical, and again, just take a moment to get a pen and paper, write these things down and go, why are we going from step A to step C when we could easily jump over and we could go from step A to E, because C, B, D can all be automated? Why? This doesn't make any sense. And again, it's only when you take a moment and step back and actually look at these things, and again, maybe even when they're written down on a piece of paper in front of you, you go, this is really silly. Why are we doing things this way? But again, it's so difficult for humans to get to that point unless they're kind of prompted. And that's what we're trying to do in this video. We're trying to prompt you just to not even change anything, but just take a second to actually step back and go, is this the best way that we should be doing this? So again, if it's not, then there's no logical flow there, which will prevent progress in the future, okay? So on to the penultimate one then, and this is a very big one. Oh, but we'll fix it later, okay? So this is a scenario where you already know that there is a better way of doing these sort of things. You already are well aware of either a software or a tool that's out there. And look, there's no objections. It's not a case of like, oh, we don't have the budget for it. Yes, it's very affordable. Yes, it's the value is there and the time that it would save us. Yes, it would be absolutely perfect. But look, this is how we're doing things now. And look, we're coming up to end of quarter. It's very busy here. We've got trade shows coming up and all these different things. And that's just absolute nonsense. That is just an excuse that you or anyone above you, managers, C-suites, whatever it may be, directors, blah, 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 that's just some excuse that is being said so you don't have to deal with that now, okay? Because as I said, if you're going to go from one system, or you're going to try and automate something, or you're going to go whatever it may be, then yes, there is going to be a bit of a learning curve. And that prevents so many people from moving forward and progressing in the way that they should do, and essentially automating a lot of stuff that can be automated in this day and age as well, okay? So this mindset of, yeah, look, we know what to do, but we're just busy tomorrow, we'll fix it later, that's crazy, because you'll just always be in that scenario of we'll fix it later, okay? Literally just take whatever time that you have, even if that's 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, to figure this out and to actually proceed with that. You will be a lot further along. And again, these results will compound. By the way, these compound in a positive and a negative way, okay? So from a negative standpoint in regards to, oh, we'll fix it later, okay? So let me actually just bring up a calculator here for example, okay? So let's say that you're spending an hour a day on whatever it is that realistically can be automated, okay? So that's going to be realistically 5 hours a week, okay? So Monday through Friday, an hour a day, that's 5 hours, okay? So let's say that is 5 hours a week, and let's say that is by 50 weeks in the year, okay? Let's say that you're 2 weeks off or whatever it might be, okay? Now, the reason I'm saying 2 weeks off is because you're going to have to play a little bit of catch up when you're back from holidays, whatever it may be. So let's just round it off and say 50, okay? So that's 250 hours in a year, okay? 250 hours in a year, okay? So let's just say that you have an 8-hour workday. Let's divide that by 8. So that's a month. That's a month of work that you can save, okay? Now, again, when I said about compounding negatively and compounding positively, the negative compound of this is, well, if you don't fix it and keep pushing it off to, oh, we'll fix it later, every year you're wasting a month, okay? You're wasting a month of progress all the time, okay? A month. That's crazy when you think about it. And that's only an hour a day, okay? Now, if you flip this around, inverse it to positively, well, that means that you've got a whole extra day, okay? It's actually technically more than a day because um we're you are not going to be working for 31 days of the month, okay? You're going to be working for whatever it is, 22 or whatever, Monday through Friday. So with Saturdays and Sundays excluded, this is actually more than a month. So this is probably actually a month and a half of business hours, okay? So this is just absolutely crazy. So that's what you would save by fixing this now. And imagine what another month and a half, and this is for one person, by the way, another month and a half could do if their time was better allocated elsewhere from something else being automated. This just makes so much sense, okay? So it's not a case of, oh yeah, we'll fix it later. You are losing time, and like I don't want to be cliche here, but time is money, especially in business, obviously. So you are literally losing money there, okay? Now, again, you could, that 250 hours a year that is, if you multiply that by whatever hourly rate that somebody's on, if you break it down that way, obviously that's going to be a big chunk of change, okay? Which is just an absolute waste, especially if you can automate it. Because even if it's going to cost you to automate it, to buy a particular software, to buy a particular tool, okay, I can guarantee it won't be as much as what it would be to pay that person to do this hourly, okay? You have a massive ROI here from just implementing an automation or a fix or a new system, something that can speed up the process. Because even if it's semi-automated and speeds up the process where that person doesn't need to spend an hour, they only need to spend half an hour, well, then obviously we're saving, well, let's just call it half a 30, 15 days worth, okay? So again, pretty much almost like 3 weeks. That actually is 3 weeks throughout the year of what somebody would be doing, okay? That's 3 weeks of full days, okay? 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So this is just ridiculous when you actually look at the maths behind this as well, okay? So again, this is hopefully, but from everything that I've spoken about in this video so far, this point alone gets across like how crazy this is to continue with something that can absolutely be fixed and automated or even semi-automated in this day and age because we have the technology. This is what you're losing, and also on the inverse, this is what you gain when you fix it now, okay? So absolutely stop putting this off as well, okay? And that brings me kind of nicely onto the last point as well then, which is bottlenecks. Because typically, especially in this day and age, the bottleneck in a system for B2B, it doesn't matter whether it's for generating leads, whether it's for putting data onto a spreadsheet, doesn't matter what it is, okay? But typically the bottlenecks in this day and age are realistically only going to be two different things. It's either going to be software or it's going to be people. More than likely it's going to be people, okay? Now, in that example that I just gave there, where we saw that we were able to save like pretty much a month and a half worth of what we would pay an employee to do. And again, whether that's somebody who's on the marketing team, whether it's somebody in finance, whether it is whatever, okay, it doesn't make a difference at all where this person is, okay? But again, it's just absolutely wasted money, okay? And again, there's absolutely a positive ROI from fixing this, okay? And again, it just obviously staff morale will go up as well. But the bottleneck in most cases is going to be the human, okay? So again, even if that person is off sick, for example, or like I said, they're on holidays or whatever it might be, if you can have something in place where, yes, it still needs that little bit of human input, but again, it can be done in a somewhat semi-automated way and hopefully a fully automated way, that person, like we've removed that bottleneck then, okay? So I'm not saying that person, everything they do in the particular organization, that is a bottleneck, okay? What I'm trying to say here is just for that particular flow that we're trying to get through, and again, in this case, there was no logical flow for that person to do that. They were the bottleneck in the system, okay? Because we needed the human input for somebody to go ahead and fix the problem, okay? And spend an hour on it every single day, which again, when you step back and actually look at it, it's ridiculous. But most people don't because that's the way we've always done things, okay? You really need to take a step back and look at pretty much everything. And I know I've said that a couple of times, but I'm really trying to get across that point here, okay? So again, in most cases, human input is going to be the bottleneck here, okay? Because a human can only spend so much time doing one thing in particular, okay? But again, even if that goes from an hour to half an hour, that's fantastic progress. If it goes from an hour to 5 minutes of human input, even better, okay? But trust me, there's going to be some valuable time-saving effort there by implementing a software or a tool, whatever it might be, okay? Now, the only time in regards to a bottleneck where you might have software bottlenecks is if you're using a particular system where it's like a credit-based or a token-based kind of thing where, well, you've already sent across 10 spreadsheets, and if you want to send the next 15, you have to up to the next credit system or upgrade or whatever it might be, okay? Now, look, that's I don't want to say rare, but again, a lot of software companies, they have their, I'm sure you've seen it yourself, their starter package, the professional package, their enterprise package, depending on what usage you need. Okay. But if you are using that usage, then I can guarantee it will still be worth it for you to upgrade to the next or whatever particular tier that you need as well. Okay. Because again, it's, if you do the maths on this, I can guarantee not only will it save either you or your staff members or whoever it is that's in the organization that's doing this sort of stuff a lot of time. Okay, so they don't need to be doing either manual data import, whatever the particular thing is that they need to have resolved here, but it will return a positive ROI. It just makes absolute total sense to it. So you can remove bottlenecks from the whole entire organization by just taking a step back and looking at pretty much everything and going, but we've always done things that way. Now, look, that's going to be different for everybody in the organization. So if you're in marketing, you can look at all of the marketing funnels. You can look at all of the different ways that you're getting leads. Okay. You can look at all the different, whatever it is that you have in marketing, all the different systems within marketing itself, and go, is there a better way of doing that? Could we be automating this? Could that be better? If you're in finance, again, instead of having to put something on one spreadsheet and then put it into your software as well, or whatever it may be. Okay, there's so many different scenarios where this will, if you just take the moment and step back and go, what's a better way of doing this? What's a faster, easier way of doing this? You will find something. I can guarantee that to you. Okay. So, look, if you want to know a bit more about how we actually help B2B companies install a client acquisition engine, which helps with a lot of this sort of stuff in regards to lead generation, because a lot of it is automated. We help you build systems that are implemented in your organization without the need for an agency. You can check out a link for that in the description below. Completely up to you if you want to click it or not. To be honest, if you don't want to click it, that's completely fine. Just want to make sure you get value from this video. So that is pretty much everything for this video. If you did get value from it and you want to see more videos like this, which is kind of just a little bit of a different way of thinking, make sure you like and subscribe, because by doing that, it not only helps us, but it also helps you, because that means that YouTube will have more recommended stuff like this in your feed so that you can get a lot more knowledge and be able to up your career or scale the business, depending on where you are in the organization, a lot faster, a lot easier, with a lot more ease. So hopefully you got some value from that video, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good day.